Good evening, everybody. Today is Monday, October 25th, 2021. Hi above Forward, Maryland World Headquarters. My name is Bill Woodcock.
And I'm Jason Booms. Take the Saints with the points. Back to you, Bill.
That's actually a good bet because Russ is hurt. And you are watching or listening to another edition of Forward Maryland, although probably by the time you watch or hear this, the game will be over. So don't bet anybody.
Oh, my God. I meant, actually, I did mean to say, take the Seahawks in the points. 5.5 points. I still like, I don't think Seattle's going to drop 3 in a row at home. So I'm saying Seattle with the points. If you only offered 3, I'd take Seattle still. And the over-under, I'd definitely go under. Thank you. But yeah,
was that your free play of the day, Jason?
This is a mortal lock.
What do you charge for Thursday night's action as the Packers visit the undefeated Arizona Cardinals?
You have to listen to my show on Saturday mornings at 4:45 a.m.
Do you want to give us that 1-900 number again?
And I've got a ham radio channel you can key in on. You have to be within a 50-foot radius.
Jason Booms, everybody. You're the Wild Lake's premier tout of all sports. You can also watch him on TVG4, bringing you armadillo racing from Venezuela. Well, we bring you something a little bit more exciting than armadillo racing. We have both been on various travels of the psyche over the past several weeks or so, but we are coming back to you with fresh content and the latest in Maryland political news. And Jason, one story in particular deserves our wrath, which is unbelievable that this actually made a CNN network story over the weekend. So what we had apparently was a quantity of Western Maryland legislators want their counties, Garrett, Allegheny, and Washington, to secede from the old line state and join West Virginia. This has already been shot down by Governor Hogan, although Governor Justice of West Virginia, I believe, was quoted as saying, "Sure, I'll take them, man." Who did that just sound like? But that sounded like Jim Justice, didn't it? Oh,
a dead
I'll
ringer.
take him in.
I can close my eyes. I'm seeing him now.
You just go down to the corner drugstore and get vaccinated. It's all good. But at any rate, this ain't going to happen, but it did warrant a CNN weekend story. Jason, how idiotic are these people for advocating secession of Western Maryland to West Virginia?
Well, I got to admit, I take a contrarian stance on this, if only because of the crispy succulence of the irony involved. But when you think about it, and the reason why West Virginia was founded in the first place, I believe, in 1863, to break away from Virginia, which at the time was in rebellion against the United States. The mere fact that now these 3 rather conservative Dixie-ish counties want to now merge with West Virginia as it is now, it's a delicious turn of history. But yeah, it's completely insane. And I think the sentiment that was voiced by some policymakers in the west of the state that, well, if you don't want to do the job, you can always just go move to West Virginia and make it easier. I think that probably is the right sentiment.
Well, one could take the tack of former Maryland State Senator Alex X. Mooney, who is now, in God's name, Congressman Alex Mooney of West Virginia after moving there.
One of the things I find, and why limit yourself to West Virginia? If you take a look at an early map of the United States, states like Massachusetts had claims that just extended out to the west. I think Michigan, for a period of time before it was organized into a territory, was part of Massachusetts, as well as Maine, perhaps more famously as being just northern Massachusetts. So just why not go nuts? Why not make it Eastern Utah? I mean, there's a lot of options out there, or it can
I
form its
think
own state.
I think it's constitutionally mandated that land masses be contiguous.
That's a ridiculous rule.
What we could do is just declare our own micro principality. I mean, Howard County could secede. I mean, it could be like a San Marino type situation. It just inside the middle of Maryland, its own sovereign state. I mean, it has the population of Iceland. Iceland made it to the friggin' World Cup. Why not?
Well, I mean, I'd want to take a look at the population stats, compare with the rest of West Virginia to see if it would make any meaningful difference at any particular level. But something just seems wrong about ending Maryland at the westernmost reaches of Frederick County. That doesn't even feel right. So I guess in that sense, that'd be missed.
I would miss Deep Creek Lake. This would mean that my son, who's a Frostburg alumnus, would then be a alumnus of a West Virginia college. Cumberland is fairly pleasant. The pepperoni roll is a staple at diners and fine establishments in Cumberland. If you haven't tried a pepperoni roll, Jason, I strongly recommend you get some into your life. And then the Hagerstown outlets. I mean, we would only have one outlet mall in the entire state if they were to secede.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, that's one of my first thoughts was, I guess we'll have to go to the Hagerstown, West Virginia outlets. But I mean, to be honest, I haven't spent a whole lot of time going to West Virginia, especially since the casino opened up in just down the road. I was quite fond of going to Charlestown. That was a nice place to spend a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm. It was, but no more. Well, anyway, Republicans, you're idiots. You're all ain't seceding. Why don't you just go shoot yourselves into the sun? Is basically my advice to any and all Republicans out there watching this program. So anyway, speaking of things that make you want to shoot yourself into the sun, Jason, runner-up in the 2014 gubernatorial election in the state of Maryland, former Lieutenant Governor Anthony Brown is now running for state attorney general, not even waiting for the literal body to get cold of Attorney General Brian Frosh, who is retired after 8 years of service, I believe 28 or 32 years of service to the people of the state of Maryland. And congratulations to the attorney general for that. But what make you of, Brown has not been a congressman for that long, only 3 terms. What make you of the relative turbulence of Prince George's County politics relative to the rest of the state of Maryland?
Well, that makes it fun. And I have to admit that seeing the dominoes move, particularly in a state such as Maryland, where you don't have term limits, which I think net is a good thing. But nonetheless, when you get these opportunities occurring so infrequently, that it's going to be nice to see the movement of the game of musical chairs being played. We're already seeing that Delegate Jazz Lewis of the 24th has announced he's running for the 4th Congressional District. Let's see who else might jump in the race. And of course, that creates some opportunities for a good friend of the podcast, Rich Elliott, who has been seeking that the delegate seat, one of 3 in the 24th. So it's going to be fun to see all the movement and see what other potential repercussions there might be.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, as you well know, and I have long advocated this, there needs to be much more competition in Maryland politics. I mean, it's ridiculous how little there is, in fact. And so what's going on in Prince George's County with Brown begetting Edwards, and then Brown moving up to the attorney general's spot, and now who knows what's going on that has all sorts of repercussions for county councils, state legislative spots. I think it's pretty cool. And in fact, I wish it were going on many other places. I'm a big advocate that contested primaries wind up being good for the party that's having the contested primary. If you want to act like a total tool knob, as some people do in some parts of the state, and let it destroy your party, you could. But otherwise, I think the competition is a good thing. So I am looking forward to, and I would agree about our friend Mr. Elliott, and I think that there will be several others who will be benefiting from the cascade of events, if you will, that are going to be unfolding after, with the announcement of former Lieutenant Governor Brown, now Congressman Brown, running for election. I apologize for that slight interlude. I had to shut the window from the nor'easter that is apparently unfolding outside. How are you? Are your batches are your hatches battened down?
Everything's solid here. Yeah, I'm not really feeling the effect of the bomb cyclone. I know I'm slightly to the west of your broadcast location, so I can safely report it's 85 degrees and sunny. But I am expecting the rain to hit at any time.
Well, as long as it doesn't go full 2012 and become like a 400-foot tidal wave carrying a aircraft carrier, I think we're okay.
It's a very slight microclimate, so I think we're good.
All right. Well, now for the main event of the evening, or morning, or afternoon, depending on when you're watching this. The latest gubernatorial top 10, as picked by the editorial and broadcast staff of Forward Maryland. Jason, first I have a question. Are the letters going the right way?
On the screen, yes. Everything looks perfect.
Okay, good, because to me they're backwards, and it looks like some sort of Cyrillic nonsense, which was not my intention.
No, reads fine here.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Now might be a good time to say I have dyslexia, but
it's a little late. So we are now going to tempt fate and risk life and limb to give you the power rankings of the top 10 of the, as of this writing, 14 major party candidates for governor of the state of Maryland. Those candidates, again, are on your Democratic side: former Attorney General Doug Gansler, Ashwani Jain, John Barron. Bukup is actually former Prince George's County Executive Rush Baker, Comptroller Peter Franchot, Tom Perez, former U.S. Education Secretary John King, author and dude Wes Moore, and some guy named Mike Rosenbaum, who is some sort of a CEO of a drug company, I want to say. And then on the Republican side, delegate and January 6th sympathizer Dan Cox, former delegate and Commerce and Labor Secretary Kelly Schultz, former Wizards heckler and all-around weirdo Robin Ficker, former Lieutenant Governor Mike Steele, and some guy named Tom Werner, who apparently was a Democratic nominee for 1st District Congress as recently as 2016.
Yeah, and he has the full slate already lined up for his ticket.
He does. He has I believe he might be the first one to bust out with a lieutenant gubernatorial candidate. Not sure if that's impressive or just adds to the sadness.
Yeah, it looks like he chose, on the Republican side at least, he grabbed his, they filed on the 21st, whereas Cox and Schiffinelli filed on the 29th.
So Cox is in too. Jason booms with all the late breaking.
Try to get caught up today, and I had some downtime.
Glad you have. So are we going to go for a unified power ranking, Jason?
Based on my picks, I really doubt it. Okay. I would be stunned.
All right. Well, we're going to go. All right. So we're going to go Bill or B and then J. Jason, give me your number 10.
Number 10, and I've been mispronouncing his name for years. I see no reason to change now. I'm going with Robin Fiker for number 10. And this is based on the following reason. Number one, the other candidates, I don't think worth much of a mention, although I have two dishonorable mentions I like to point out at the very end, or before I choose my number one. He has been visible. This is a state where, primarily in Ocean City, he has a certain name throughout the rest of the state. Any Republican nominee doesn't have a particularly decent shot of winning, but we have seen in recent history a couple of Republican governors in Maryland, so I'm not completely ruling it out. And I would say that of the field of 14-ish, and there's an independent in there as well, that he is the 10th most likely to get it. That's damning with faint praise, but there you go.
Well, the independent candidate is out of this, Jason. We said major parties, so there. And you know what? We are off to a start because barely nosing Ashwani Jain out for 10th place, Jain leading the other candidates, others also receiving votes. I have at number 10, Robin Ficker. And again, I cite his early and often presence up and down the Eastern Shore. Those 2 cent signs are quite prevalent up and down Route 50. They're not that prevalent anywhere else in the state. And a little boomlet was made when he showed up to the Taw's Crab Feast last week wearing a full suit, which you just don't do. You don't do it when it's in July. You certainly don't do it when it's in October. But he's actually trying to be stately, as Robin Ficker can be. So he might drop out next month, but for right now he's 10. So we're going to do this in a 2-team fantasy football draft style and do like a snake. So I get to lead off for number 9.
Nice.
So I am going to go for number 9. I am going to go with former Lieutenant Governor Michael Steele.
Come on.
Yes, sir. Because he has dropped. He's been as high as number 5 in my rankings, but he's dropping because, Mike, you gotta do it or get off the pot, bro. I mean, it's time for the exploratory committee to stop exploring. You're not friggin', Fernando da Gama. You're not Magellan. You know what you're doing. If you're going to do it already. If not, get out. So, Mike, you're number 9. You could very easily be out next time. And John Barron's looking mighty fine in that number 9 spot. Who you got, Jay?
I had Steele as well. And here's the rationale. One, I think he's slightly more electable than Fiker.
It's Ficker.
I know. I'm going to keep doing it and also that's one of my things I also do unintentionally when I don't respect people. I constantly mispronounce their name. So no offense to those people whose names I accidentally mispronounce, because I'm sure it'll happen.
I was just thinking of all the people's names you mispronounce.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a lot of people. Well, here's the deal on Steele. Funny you mentioned the exploratory campaign, because I was reading a Maryland Matters article, for whatever that's worth, and going through and taking a look at the comments regarding his exploratory committee and what has their spending been. And I saw, this is real insidery, but I saw his attorney for his campaign, Charlie Spees, who actually has been very active as one of the top election lawyers of on the Republican side for years now. Fun fact, he, myself, and some other guy, whose name I feel like mentioning, were at one point in time the Young Turks, working for a Senate candidate by the name of Ronna Romney, meeting in a small apartment in Clawson, Michigan to thrash out strategy. It's
is
good
that the same person as who is now the RNC chair, Ronna McDaniel?
Daughter of little Ronna, as we called her back in the day. But
oh,
yes.
My word.
Yeah, I knew her when she was like 18, 19, and well, look how she's doing today. So it's good seeing Charlie's name. Charlie, I know you're a longtime listener, so it's good to see you. Steele, I have him in that role regardless of whether he runs as an R or decides to go out as an I for some reason. Actually, it probably makes him a little worse, depending on depending on who the Republican Democratic nominees are. Uh, Name ID, I think he's out of touch with most of the Republican Party today. He appears on MSNBC too often, I think, for them to be comfortable with him. But yeah, he's at least interesting and would be a rather sane choice. So I'll put him at 9.
Very good. Who do you have at number 8?
I've got Tom Perez.
Oh,
The first Democrat of the top 10. I don't think the party is looking for someone. I mean, he's basically the fourth choice of the establishment. I don't think he has a particularly interesting geographic base, considering the other candidates that are coming out of that general neck of the woods in eastern Montgomery County. He's been national for too long. DNC cabinet. I just don't see the path for Tom Perez. I hear he's decent on the campaign trail, but when you take a look at the other names, I just don't see a natural path for Perez.
well, there's a lot of there is a lot of that I could say about this candidate. And this is not just our first divergence, but you might be quite upset with me for putting this person there. Although I'm not sure, but I'm going to go with a author and man about the USA. And also, like Mike Steele, a fellow Johns Hopkins alumnus of mine, Wes Moore. Mm-hmm. And that is mostly due to, in an earlier either in an earlier iteration or in some other conversation, Jason, we had to talk about the differences between Wes Moore and John King. And on further examination, I'm noticing two things. One, I don't find Moore's platform to be as fleshed out as I would like it to be. And then plus, he's trying to lend himself a little bit of the celebrity thing, which is okay because he's an author and he writes about his upbringing and all that, which is okay, except he's really not a celebrity. So I'm not buying it. I'm not feeling the Wes Moore love. John King will appear later in this presentation. You might be surprised where he shows, but there's a little bit of inauthenticity with Wes Moore right now that I'm not digging. Plus, he apparently has been pulling a Ben Jealous recently, doing a lot of out of town fundraisers. Not the best look. Now for
he's pulling that kind of Ben Jealous. Okay, good. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah. And always remember, I always say Ben Jealous, not Van Jealous. Not to be confused with the noted composer. Now for number 7, I am going to go Perez. I'm not quite as off the Perez train as it sounds like you might be. I actually think that he still does have a number of very valid local and national connections. But right now, Tom Perez seems like a Terry McAuliffe Jr. and also light. His natural base would be Montgomery County, but doesn't seem to be much interested there. I really have to wonder if his better play would not be to see what happens with congressional districting, poise himself to take the 6th from Trone, especially if it's a lot of Montgomery County. Do something else. But I'm not sure governor's the best call for him. But I can at least see the pinhole of an opening for a Perez candidacy. Jason, you're number 7.
Oof. My number 7 is a Kelly Schulz. Here's why I say Kelly Schulz. Number 1, I think she has the potential in a Republican cycle to beat Tom Perez.
Mm.
Just from the sheer perspective of, I just don't know how well someone who's been as much of an insider as he has been, can he translate those skills as effectively outside of, the boardroom or what have you to, the campaign trail? Yes, he's served in elective office before. You always wonder if the skills get rusty. Scholes, I think, is another case of, um, she in a normal election cycle may appear to be the sort of daunting front runner everyone else might have to chase. However, given the madness that's afflicted the Republican Party, she's not even the top Republican in the field. But she does have a certain profile which lends itself well. She has a decent enough resume that I can see her being a relatively formidable general election candidate. So I stuck her at 7.
Now I know that this is your maiden voyage with a ranking, at least on the podcast. I mean, have you always thought of her as like so far down? I mean, she was a Republican darling scant months ago.
Well, I think I based my 0 to 10 more almost on a sense of where they might end up as opposed to where they are now. I think the choices are probably fairly similar. That's the thing. I haven't heard that much about her. Now, have I been a little bit less attentive, perhaps in certain circles? Maybe. But given the books I'm reading, I'm not coming up with, I'm not seeing her name a whole lot. But I just, a little bit of the luster perhaps has dropped off. She's sort of, been around. She's not a new face, so, she's just there.
Who do you have at number 6 to round out your bottom 5?
Sure. I have that treasonous lunatic, Dan Cox, who, well, I'm not going to say that. I would take this opportunity to recommend a really good book I just got finished reading. Paul Mason, How to Stop Fascism. I'm just, for no reason at all, I'm mentioning this book.
Do the words punch in the face appear at all?
What? Madison Cawthorn? What about him?
Oh, no, that was push. Wait a minute.
Oopsie. With Cox,
push him over to a gravesite of a decorated veteran, Jason. That's what I was saying.
Oh God, now I'm blanking on that line. I should know it. That he was Big Lebowski. Come on, they dumped him off of the wheelchair.
I would never say such a thing about Madison Cawthorn. That's a member of Congress, Jason.
We're talking about the Big Lebowski. I'm just saying that there was a line.
True. There is a scene where someone gets dumped out of a chair. It's not pleasant. Yeah. But it was funny.
Oh, totally random thought. Series of random thoughts. But yes, the popular front is extremely important. And Dan Cox is a loser, and I probably should be facing charges at some point in time. And but unfortunately, in this world that we're in, he is probably I haven't seen any poll data either, which is also very disturbing. But he's probably the Republican front runner, and hey, there you go. And his running mate actually will be speaking at some event I'm not going to publicize, but we're seeing information about that recently as well.
No, there are plenty of places for right-wing idiots to get their news and information in this location. For my number 6, I am going to go with John King. And that is just because I'm just digging what he's selling right now. I like his background as an education guy. I do not think that somebody who has never served an elected office has a shot in hell at being elected to the governor's mansion in the state of Maryland. But doggone it, this guy has newcomer of the cycle written all over him. He needs to have some sort of a role. I could see him as a terrific, maybe the best possible lieutenant governor candidate that there could be for any of the. I will just say I have 3 Democrats in my top 5. I'm big fan of this former Secretary of Education. I think he has a lot of potential. At my number 5, I will go with Kelly Schultz, who has been as high as number 2 in the Woodcock ranking, has now dropped to 5. There is a lot of Republican establishment that is going way, way, way away from Kelly Schultz and towards Dan Cox. The former establishment Republicans, such as the former 2-time Republican nominee Ellen Sauerbrey, are not warming up to the Hogan-anointed candidacy of Schultz and are instead throwing their old hateful Republican, bile towards Dan Cox, which really should tell you, for any of you people out there in viewer and listener land who are considering supporting, certain retread Republican candidates, should really tell you, what they're really all about. But it probably won't tell you anything because you think you know it all. So anyway, Kelly Schultz at number 5, Jason. Thoughts on that, or how about you? Who got it for us, son?
I'll just go to my 5th slot, which is Doug Gansler.
Okay.
I think he's a solution looking for a very undefined problem. I think he would have been a fantastic Democratic candidate in the 90s. I know he is trying to evolve on certain issues. If you look back at the 2014, gosh, it was so many years ago, race where he placed second, barely ahead of the Mizzier Coates ticket. He ran a somewhat serious, rather serious campaign. He had some issues. He brings to mind John Edwards, the psychic. And, I know he's trying to move left on issues such as legalization, but that's just sort of where the Democratic Party is. I just don't know how much there is there with other choices to consider. So I have Gansler parked at 5. Number 4, though.
Number 4.
And this we're still doing the snake, right? We're still snaking it out.
Yes, you're snaking it out, dude. So it's your 4.
Snake Plissken. All right. So number 4, I'm gonna go with Pete Franchot. I've got a couple of friends of mine who are going to be displeased to hear that.
I may be one of them.
but here's the deal. Franchot, he occupies the essential slot of the front runner in a lot of different criteria. His longevity of service, his name ID throughout the state, both as comptroller and previous electoral office. But if you take a look at the scant poll data which exists, he's not blowing anyone away. I mean, a front runner should really be 40% plus. The polls I've seen him in I think he was 3rd in a very early poll with around 17%. I could be a bit off on that. So I don't think he's scaring anybody, which is one of the reasons why we have a fairly sizable field of decent candidates. And again, would it surprise me if he was the Democratic nominee? No. But simultaneously, I still have yet to see the narrative other than, hey, I've been around for a while. Like Gansler, he's had some issues with evolving, although I think perhaps the Franchot's evolved even further in some ways, going from a progressive state legislator to comptroller, where I don't know. I'm not sure if the base will love the idea of someone who is relatively close working partner with Governor Hogan. So, I'll park him at 4th. That seems about right.
I took a step back during your description of your placement of Franchot at 4, and the top of this board is shaping up in a quite interesting way, and I am enjoying the takes that I have a feeling that we are both going to be taking to the top of this ranking. At this point for me, I mean, my thing is we got to go, as you said down in the lower numbers, Jason, who beats whom at this point? And so if I look at Kelly Schultz at number 5, I'm thinking who beats her at number 4, but then loses to the number 3. And the number 4 that I go with right now is Rush Baker. And I owe an apology to former County Executive Baker and sympathy. I remember saying over the summer that he was an invisible candidate and not really done very much. His wife died. That was not very well known, that I don't think, that she had cancer and had passed away. And so my sympathies to the family. I know I had them in like sixth or seventh, but Prince George's County is certainly going to be charged up with all the disruption that we talked about earlier. I do believe the name holds some cachet there. There was still his run in 2018, where he was actually the front runner for a while. And I think that he could still throw together a very strong campaign and give the Democratic primary a great run, possibly win it. But I think that I think that he is, he's actually on the upswing here.
Mm-hmm. Fair point.
So however, I do not have a lot of faith in the voting public of the state of Maryland, who I saw, choose Larry Hogan over Anthony Brown, and maybe a little bit more justifiably so, Hogan over Ben Jealous in 2018. And I'm still not sure that the state of Maryland is ready to elect its first African-American governor. And so this is where I top out my Republican ranking, and I go Dan Cox.
Ooh.
Because I hate to say it, but if it was a Baker Cox general election, I would certainly go with Baker, and I would want him to be the governor with all my heart. But there are just enough Middle Riverers and Towsonians and Dundalkers and Anne Arundel County people who would want Dan Cox there no matter what, because of one factor and one factor only. And I'm just not going to say what that is. I don't think we need to describe what that is, but it's sad and pathetic, but that's the way I see it.
Hopefully that will not come to pass, but that is not an unlikely scenario.
And a massively unfortunate one, considering, as you say, this individual from Frederick County probably should be facing some sort of federal case right now, and with any luck at all, still will be. Mm-hmm. Jason, who is in your bronze medal position on your power ranking?
For some reason, I was thinking of the name Rico Suave. Rico. It's
Rico Suave. I said no independent candidates.
Why am I thinking of statutes? Anyway, racketeering. I have Rusher and Baker as my number 3 slot. For some of the reasons you described, I think I described him famously, as some say, as being somewhat akin to Oatmeal in the 2018 race. I'll stand by that. Oatmeal is looking better, quite frankly, in 2022. Number one. Number two, he did finish second. And by the way, Elizabeth Embry must be pissed at not being the LG nominee this time around on the ticket. But I would have to say Nancy Navarro was a very good choice. I think that most gubernatorial candidates on the Democratic side will be. I mean, number one, you've got to look at a woman LG pick as people's first, second, and third choices, most likely, before you'd have a 2-guy ticket. The times have changed, and rightfully so. But Baker Navarro is very interesting. A really heavy outside of DC suburb play. I think he still retains a good base. He's got a good political name, still a good reputation in PG County. Has gone through some personal tragedies, as you mentioned a bit earlier, and I think it'd be a very solid choice for a party looking for someone stable and capable. So in that regard, I think he's got a decent shot at it.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention the Navarro pick. That was a great choice. I love Nancy Navarro. Very strong choice.
I think I think when I briefly, no, it was Irvin who was my councilwoman when I was in Montgomery County in the before times. But no, Navarro was fantastic. My number 2 choice is actually John King.
Oh,
Why did I rate him so highly, you might ask?
not as highly as I think someone else you're going to rate later.
I don't know about that, but no. But King, the Democratic Party likes choosing folks that are when they begin their campaigns, perhaps relatively unknown. I think King energizes a bit more of the base. I mean, this is not dispositive, but if you take a look, for example, at the Howard County, um, uh, exit poll results or straw poll results, King did very well in those. I think in the public appearances, at least I've seen, I think he's classed a lot of the other folks in terms of his presentation. I think his perceived positioning is to the left of everyone else who's a significant candidate, which I think has a great deal of pickup with the base. He has the Obama connection, which I think is a very strong connection to have. Granted, Perez does as well, but I think King, from his cabinet service on a high-profile issue such as education, has a better profile. And I just think he has a ton of upside. And I think if you're a Democrat and you're looking for a relatively new face and someone who can energize the electorate, I think King will be someone a lot of voters will turn towards.
So you were not discouraged by his own lack of an electoral record or native Maryland political base.
Nah. No, I think if he may face the same challenge that I think some of the presidential candidates may have had in 2020. That perhaps now is not the time to trust or to put your faith in new faces because we need wins. I think that may be a bit less of an issue in Maryland compared to nationally, where I think the expectation still remains that the Democratic nominee, whoever they are, will have a very good shot at winning. So in that regard, that might help out Baker more, but I still see King as a definite threat too, especially in a field like this. He gets 26% of the vote in a race where everyone's clustered between 26 and 18. He doesn't need that many votes, relatively speaking, to pull it off.
No, that's a good point. It is going to be, unless if there is a consolidation in this field, you could very easily see 30% win the whole schmear. I mean, if not less. So for my number 2, I am going with the former Attorney General Doug Gansler. So I agree with you with what you were saying about his tacking to the left. It's going to be interesting to see, how much of his record as Attorney General, which was fairly unspectacular, and fair, compared to the now departing Attorney General Brian Frosch, and then also compared to the previous Attorney General Joe Curran, Gansler has kind of slipped in there between two giants. And Doug I remember first met him and he was state's attorney in Montgomery County. I thought he was a great local state's attorney, but I really didn't think that he translated that well into the state level. I thought of his stewardship of that position as more of the caretaker variety. So, how much of that carries over, that his time as Attorney General may not have been the most distinguished time. And then is he actually going to be the guy to get the hands around the Maryland economy, to get jobs into the state, to stoke the economic engines of Baltimore and D.C., to come out of the pandemic roaring? I'm not sure, that's the case that he's going to have to make. And I'm not sure that that's the one that's going to stick. Now, for my number 1 candidate, though, I do think that's the case that they're going to make. And I think that that's going to stick. And that is Maryland's own Joe Biden figure, Peter Franchot. So I have been on the Franchot train for a while. I'm supporting him for governor, but that's not why I have him here number 1. I think that given a savvy political team, He is an amoeba of a candidate. Jason, you made a mention back when you put Franchot at 4 about his cozying up to Hogan, and that is the one complaint I've had about Franchot's tenure as comptroller alongside Governor Hogan. And the Hogan star is not that bright. Anybody who thinks that Hogan's going to be the senator against Chris Van Hollen, or even that he's going to be a viable presidential candidate, you guys are fooling yourselves, because it's just not going to happen. But Franchot can also has 8 years as comptroller before Hogan, as well as a 20-year record in the General Assembly, where he has distinguished himself as quite a progressive, as quite a liberal, and as the latest in the long line of beloved Maryland comptrollers over the past 60 years. But unlike Louis Goldstein and William Donald Schaefer, he's not crazy. He's actually been competent in his job. So, given what I think the issues are going to be, the issues are going to be economic security, jobs, wages. I think Franchot's got more, all the inside rail he wants to run from. And I don't see, despite his kinship with Hogan, I don't see anybody beating him from the left, which in a primary is what you got to do.
Well, I remember when he was on our show, way back when, and this was
again.
Yep, and this was back prior to COVID. I remember some of his comments reeking of being pro-austerity, which annoyed me to no end. I'm not sure if his opinion necessarily has changed as a result of the outbreak and the resulting economic dislocation and insecurity facing many residents of the state. But nonetheless, hopefully he'll embrace more of the Biden style of governance as opposed to the Joe Manchin style of governance, and be prepared to invest in Maryland. But I mean, he's a serious pick, and I can definitely see the rationale behind it.
As long as he does not embrace the Kirsten Sinema style of governance.
But he should embrace her sartorial sense.
We even down to the hot pink sweater that
Absolutely.
says dangerous creature on it. Of course, look at what I'm wearing.
Was he going to make a statement or not?
Damn straight.
But, yeah.
Or we don't need the knee-high go-go boots with Pete Franchot. Please don't rock the thigh highs, Pete.
Well, we know the people who can suggest that. We can call them up right now. But
I think they already have. Who you got at your top spot, big man?
Well, this is worthy of 2 mics, so I got the second one out.
Oh my God! Is one of those from the Mutual Broadcasting System?
From the Dumont Network. Okay. First of all, I'd like to give 2 dishonorable mentions. One for Ashwani Jain. If I have the last name of Jane, I am doing platform articulation. I'm doing speeches that say Jane says every day, and I'm playing that song every day in the campaign office and on the trail. The fact they haven't done that is a slap in the face to every Gen X resident of the great state of Maryland. I'm appalled. Secondly, I would like to also give a dishonorable mention.
Was he caught stealing when he was 5?
It's that postmodern society we're living in. These miscreants are getting into high public office. But he's only 7, isn't he? How old is that guy anyway?
He does look like he's about 12. He's a very, very boyish face, that young man. But anyway, your second dishonorable. First off, why is that a dishonorable mention? He didn't mention Jane's addiction. Do you want him to come across as he has an addiction issue?
I think it'd make it more relatable. I want to hear a personal story. I don't know about this guy. And like John Barron and Mike Rosen, what the fuck bomb. I mean, they're both will be struggling to get over the Ed Tinus line. So I don't have anything to say about
What's
those two.
that line?
Well, the shocking thing is, you can get some really serious folks that just fare horribly. I'm looking back at the 2018 numbers, and I know Val Irvin had some issues with the Kamenetz votes, but she got 3.2%. She was extremely well qualified. What's his name? Ross.
Alec Ross
Alec
got
Ross.
like 1%.
Serious guy, 2.4%. He finished 4,000 votes ahead of the fabled Jaffe ticket. Double your pleasure, double your fun. So you could have a situation, especially if you have 5 really serious Democratic candidates all bunched up in double digits, that you could have some folks doing poorly. And I expect Barron and Rosenbaum fit that criteria. But my other dishonorable goes to Wes Moore, along with an apology of sorts. As careful viewers and listeners may know, I had to take a little bit of a hiatus. I did during that hiatus reach out to Wes Moore. Might have been late in the evening. I can't recall precisely when. And I indicated I would like to have a conversation with the campaign. Well, there being no response, what I consider to be a reasonable amount of time, I may have said a couple things on direct message regarding their ability to campaign effectively and their parentage. I don't know, but that may be unseemly in modern times. But I wasn't insulting him. I was insulting the campaign. Well, actually, I said he would lose and lose badly. And I stand by that. He would lose
time you gave for the response.
Say what?
What was the period of time you gave for this response?
I don't know. Probably 2 hours. I don't remember.
From 2 to 4 a.m.
I should have called him. But so anyway, so no response. No response, Wes Moore. Bad form, but that's how it goes. My number one choice, actually, and you're probably just clicking through the names now, like, who the hell is he going to choose?
Right.
Who's left? Actually, my choice is facetious, but I have to make the choice, if only because all these candidates are fucking bourgeois. I will say the unified ticket, a joint ticket between the Green, the Bread and Roses, and the Working Class Party. Whoever that person is will be elected the next governor of Maryland.
Why did you do that?
yeah, I wanted to keep number one for something special. I don't know, but I mean, you can infer from that what you will. If you choose to think of my 2 as 1 and move everyone up 1, that's you.
I'm just going to leave it vacant.
I would
I'm
prefer
going to
vacant.
leave it there. You know what, Jason? I'm going to leave it here as a prize. In fact, I'm going to write prize. In fact, I'm going to make the Z a Z. See? So there you go. It's a prize.
I mean, if any other candidates can sing the Internationale, either the old version or Billy Bragg, I'd be more than happy to give them the number 1 slot. They have to do it on the show.
I just don't see. So I do not see this coalition of the willing forming, and then somehow managing 30% of the electorate.
Well, look, here's the deal. Howie Hawkins, who is the joint nominee of the Greens and the Socialist Party USA, as opposed to the other 8 Trotskyite sects, he got over 500,000 votes nationwide. All you need is this. You need one candidate that no one knows about to run next year, get about half of those votes, and then build off of that by about quadrupling that, and you've got yourself a winner.
Quadrupling that.
This is just math.
There is that. There is that. So then you have to. So what you're advocating is finding those 500,000 Trotskyites in the USA, move them to the state of Maryland, and I mean, well, really, what you've done then is just change the game, because who does stay in office in the state of Maryland with 500,000 Trotskyites now here?
Sounds like paradise to me. But and then you cut off the other 3 counties in the West. Okay, done.
Oh, you just said you didn't want that.
Oh no, I'm just laying out the map. I'm just laying out the roadmap.
Oh.
Not that I want it to happen, but if it did, there'd be some positive outcomes. It's like I think the libertarians had the idea of taking over an island in Michigan a few years ago.
Oh, they did, yeah.
Yeah, but that didn't come to anything, and it never will. But it's gonna be one big commune.
The whole state will be.
I know some folks that back that. Just have it headquartered right here in Howard County, and just sort of let it go forth.
They can't even have a mosque in Howard County.
Oh,
Are you serious? How the hell are you going to have a commune of Trotskyites?
Just have them live around. Well, here's what you do.
Put them in Dayton. Put them in District 5.
You just encircle some of the folks that we know. Watch them move out to West Virginia, wherever they go, and I think it'll just take care of itself.
Okay. I would be down for that if I ever thought it could happen. But like with so many things, like free college, I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Well, see, that's the thing. And the other thing, too, is why didn't some Democrat drop a bill for an $18.5 trillion package? How come it's, at least I make the 3.5 look a hell of a lot more reasonable since we're down to 1.
Just put it out there. Put out the single payer and free 4-year school to wherever. Yeah, and guaranteed basic income. Just throw it all out.
4-day work
week. Just put it out there. Why not? You want to blow shit up? Come on, Pramila. What you're waiting on?
As if we're going to see Van Hollen drop that bill.
That's highly unlikely.
Yeah.
I would take that and the points. well,
even with an injured Senator Cardin, Bill.
So we play it safe in the state of Maryland. Oh, yes, we do. But Jason, I'm not sure if your move was play it safe or if it was bold. But you have left the top spot in your gubernatorial top 10 as a prize. And for that, I think I commend you.
Well, thanks. Sorry, I got the third mic in my face now, but
the third mic.
It is a multimedia center.
It is. It is. When is the film strip of this podcast going to be available?
Microfiche to local public library. But yeah, but so you know what? Let's see some poll data. I mean, where's Mila Cromer when's she putting out her latest?
I don't know. Probably, I'm going to guess November. We're going to see some of this shit because it'll be a year out.
Yeah.
So again, my top 10 going from bottom up: Bicker, Steele, Moore, Perez, King, Schultz, Baker, Cox, Gensler, and Franchot. Your top 10 going up: Biker, Steele, Perez, Schultz, Cox, Gensler, Franchot, Baker, King, and none of these jokers deserves the top spot in Jason Boone's opinion.
Oh, maybe at some point. And I'm not going to mention any specific others like Jerry Siegel because that's just silliness. But there you go.
Well, Jason, this has been fun. It's been a tough last few weeks, I think. I mean, and we have both had a little bit of a trial and tribulation going back to late summer, but it's good to be back. Good to be back in the New York groove, so to speak.
Glad you're back, and glad we've reformed the Voltron. Perhaps even more fully next time Steve co-hosts, and we've got the third mic. And I'm talking the Lion Voltron, not the car Voltron. That was stupid.
Oh, damn straight. The Lion Voltron's the only one that kicks ass. And yes, I believe it shall take to get Mr. Hunt back on will be like, hey, Steve, want to do the podcast? And then I think that's about all he needs. So by the way, did I mention that I will be having a rare Marshmallow Man personal appearance at the Calvin Ball fundraiser on Saturday?
Oh, wow. So people can see you live and in person.
live and in person. I will be there signing autographs and taking pictures for those equipped with the capability for flash photography, and hopefully meeting and greeting many potential guests to this fine podcast program.
That's fantastic. Now, will there be special content for your Cameo or OnlyFans followers?
Cameo, no. OnlyFans, oh yes.
Thanks. I hope that's your profile smile. Try to get that in any other podcast in Howard County. It's impossible.
I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say it.
Don't.
I can't do it. I think there's still legal cases outstanding. Well, right. For Jason Booms, Jason, sign off. Sign off for the good people.
All right. Well, for Bill Woodcock, this is Jason Booms, and this has been a special episode of Forward Maryland. Good night.
Have a good night, everybody. Take care. Stop. Stop recording, damn